Over 10 years ago, Japanese scientist Tashuki no Kagaki conducted an experiment in his Hokkaido University lab. He built a small maze similar to those used for testing rodents' memory and basic intelligence. At the entrance to the maze, the professor placed a small piece of ordinary mold fungus and at the exit a cube of refined sugar. In natural conditions, fungi grow around a round and symmetrical network of threads. However, the fungus Physarum polycephalum behaved very strangely. Sensing the smell of sugar from afar, it decided to feast on the treat and sent its shoots through the maze. At every intersection, the fungus's threads split in two, filling the space of the maze. Those shoots that ended up in a dead end would turn back and look for a path in another direction. After 4 hours, the fungal threads had filled all the passages of the maze, and a few hours later, one of them found its way to the sugar. In the experiment's second stage, the scientist took a small piece of thread from the fungus used before and placed it at the beginning of a similar maze with a sugar cube at the end. Right after the experiment began, something amazing happened. The thread instantly sent out 2 branches, which began to grow rapidly. The first one made the perfect path to the sugar without any extra turns. The second one just climbed the maze wall and crossed straight along the ceiling, reaching the goal without wasting time wandering. The experiment was repeated many times using different mazes, but the result was always phenomenally the same. The mushrooms not only remembered the shortest path to the goal on an instinctive level, but they also made a conscious choice, solving the task in a non-trivial way. And how can you not think that this indicates the special intellectual abilities of the representatives of the mushroom kingdom? At the time, this experiment caused quite a stir in the scientific world. Its results were published in reputable journals, including a magazine. But Professor Tashuki is not going to stop there. About a year ago, he proved that mushrooms are capable of planning roads and transportation routes much more efficiently than professional engineers. The scientist placed a piece of food on a map of Japan, thus marking the country's major cities. Mushrooms were placed on the capital of Japan, and in less than a day they recreated an exact copy of the railway network around Tokyo. Wow, just think how much time and effort engineers spent designing Japan's roads. And here some mushrooms solved this problem in less than a day. Professor doesn't stop praising the intelligence of mushrooms, explaining that connecting several dozen points together isn't very difficult, but connecting them efficiently and in the most economical way is very challenging. Still, the mushrooms did an excellent job. And not just on the map of Japan. Later, similar experiments were conducted on the maps of Spain and England. This time, the scientists obtained accurate models of highway networks, which in some cases included extensions and changes made recently due to suboptimal initial planning. Today, Professor Tashuki continues to work with fungi and study their remarkable intelligence. In his laboratory at Hokkaido University, he is trying to transfer the amazing abilities of fungi to a computer model. The scientist believes that the results of his next experiment will help build efficient and fast information networks in the future. Let's draw conclusions from the information about the intelligence of fungi. Those who are not aware yet, watch on the channel playlist Hydro. First of all, fungi have an amazing ability to recognize various substances from a distance. Note that they don't have an olfactory system. Secondly, they have memory and intelligence. Where it is located and how it works, we can only guess and make assumptions. Here is a comment from Dimitri who sent the news. For comparison, physical parasites that settle in the body when a person eats junk food since childhood don't just leave the body on their own, and they serve as an interface for communication, feeding, and taking control on behalf of the infernal entity. I completely agree with him on this matter. That is, the intelligence of fungi may be located in a kind of egregore analog, which is probably in symbiosis with energetic entities that parasitize humans. It can also be assumed that fungi have an analog of a brain, which increases its power as its mass grows, in this case within the human body. and as a result, at some stage it gains the ability to influence the host's desires and even subjugate their will. We know about this possibility from statements made by scientists in previous years. For example, that worms can influence a person's taste preferences, meaning they can impose a desire for the specific food that the worms need. And just so you know, fungal spores are very small in size and, under favorable conditions, can be stored not just for years but for decades. Thus, if desired, any number of people can be infected through products that are stored for a long time. For example, when we eat things like nuts, cookies, canned goods, or something else. And suddenly, when we taste mold or some other pungent substance in our mouth, we usually don't even spit out the food, we just chew and swallow it, hoping that the spoiled part is insignificant. However, a single nut like that can contain a critically large number of spores from one of the deadly types of fungi. These spores can be added to cookies occasionally, such as every other time or even less often. Even if an investigation is carried out later and it's proven that some kind of infection happened through these cookies, everything can easily be blamed on improper food storage. In this case, it's impossible to prove intentional contamination. It's not difficult to organize this on a planetary scale, thus regulating the population in third world countries and even in first and second world countries without any problems. A lot has been written about the harm of sugar. It damages the heart, causes tooth decay, diabetes, obesity, and so on down a long list. It's also called the White Death. But the greatest danger it poses to humans is that fungi love it very much. As we can see from this experiment, it's not widely advertised, but fungi are the cause of a large number of diseases, many of which lead to death. Watch the channel's playlist for more details. Hydro. Smart fungi that build the country's roads in just one day, that's cool and pleasant information, but the fact that fungi can be a dangerous enemy to the body is unpleasant. Nowadays, parasites can be transmitted in various ways, through food, through water, through the air, by spraying into the atmosphere over residential areas, by injecting substances into the blood, and by weakening body organs with toxic substances. By the way, the vast majority of all types of food are not species specific for humans and have a toxic effect on the body. In this case, pathogenic bacteria and fungi, which are abundant in the surrounding environment, will find their own way to the weakened organ. Prohibit the uncontrolled infection of people. This means not only passing laws, but also organizing public and state institutions to identify the full range of influences on people and to monitor all areas where there is access to the human body, including research on the effects of various electromagnetic radiations. Additionally, prohibitive and punitive actions must follow. For example, several United States states are now attempting to ban chemtrails over their territory. Subtitles created by